Well, Kevin, in the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups. The police, who investigate crime, and the media, who turn those crimes into podcasts. And from time to time here on Hard Fork, we like to survey the landscape of crime and punishment for a segment that we call Hard Fork Crimes Division.
Dun dun. Let's do it.
All right, the theme song that Kevin just performed has now been played. Right now in this segment, we seek justice. I think it's fair to say we will not be solving any crimes, but we will describe them.
Yes.
Or certainly we will describe what has been alleged.
I was just saying, we have not yet solved a crime, but it's not out of the realm of possibility
Not
for
at
the
all.
future.
Not at all. We are always gathering evidence. And perhaps we should turn to our first case, Kevin.
Yes.
Let me crack open this case file. The FBI searches the home of the founder of the Polymarket betting website. Did you see this one?
I did. This was juicy.
So Polymarket founder Shane Copland had his home searched by the FBI last week as part of a criminal investigation into whether Copland was running Polymarket as, quote, an unlicensed commodities exchange, which is apparently illegal, and they seized Copland's electronic devices, including a phone.
Yeah, that's not a good thing when that happens to you.
Now, Kevin, after Shane Copland's phone was seized, he posted the following on X. New phone, who dis?
That's a choice.
So, Kevin, remind us who this Shane Copland character is.
So this is the young founder of Polymarket, which is the sort of leading crypto prediction betting market platform. It rose to prominence during the election, where people wagered millions of dollars on who was going to win the election. And as my colleague David Yaffe-Bellany told us on the show a few weeks ago, it was sort of nominally illegal in the U.S., but lots of Americans were using it anyway through VPNs and things like that. And it was sort of an open secret that it had this large base of customers in the U.S. despite not technically being allowed here.
Yeah, so I think that the FBI has some questions about that. But a Polymarket spokesman said, why not, that the raid was, quote, obvious political retribution by the outgoing administration.
Yeah, the theory here, at least the one that's being sort of advocated by Polymarket's fans and defenders, is that, you know, the Biden Justice Department and FBI were so mad about the election and the fact that people on Polymarket had predicted that Trump would win that they, I don't know, went after the company on some bogus charges.
And here's why I don't think that's true. Could you imagine explaining Polymarket to Joe Biden? It's like, Mr. President, it's a prediction market. People bet cryptocurrency on the outcomes of various events. Not in the United States, but they would VPN into it. By the time you've gotten to VPN, Joe Biden has truly fallen asleep.
I don't think so. I bet Joe Biden has used a VPN.
You think so? To what, like watch Netflix movies that are unavailable in the United States?
BBC Mysteries. So what do we know about why they are being investigated here?
Well, because if it is true that large numbers of Americans are illegally betting on elections by using VPNs, that could be a violation of the law. You know, DYB told us that people were openly describing how to get around the ban on U.S. bettors in the Polymarket Discord.
Yes.
So I think at the very least, the FBI is going to say, you need to tighten this up a little bit and make it a little bit harder for Americans to use this service.
Yes, and some reports have said that this investigation predates the election. This was in process long before. It's also not Polymarket's first sort of run-in with the law. They previously settled with the CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, in 2022 and paid a fine as part of that settlement. But this is something new. This is bigger, and I would say if you are a Polymarket fan in the U.S., you probably should stop doing that.
Can I tell you how I think this one resolves?
How?
Shane Copland running the Federal Reserve. Stay tuned. It's going to be a wild 2025.
Yes.
Let's open case number 2, Kevin.
What do we have?
Well, Kevin, Razzlekhan, crypto's most embarrassing rapper, some say, is going to prison. Remember Razzlekhan?
I sure do.
Heather Razzlekhan Morgan, who's a former blogger at Forbes and part of the Forbes to prison pipeline, and creator of cringy, crypto-tinged rap videos was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison this week after pleading guilty last year to helping her husband, Ilya Dutch Lichtenstein, launder 120,000 Bitcoin he stole by hacking the crypto exchange Bitfinex back in 2016. Do you know how much 120,000 Bitcoin were worth in 2016?
2016, let's see. Probably not as much as they are today.
They were worth $71 million back then. They are worth $11 billion today.
That's quite a haul.
Old Dutch and Razzlekhan really almost got away with it. Yeah. They would be living large.
I was obsessed with this story when it came out, when they got arrested, because it was sort of like out of like a very pulpy like spy novel.
Yes.
Like they had fake passports and they were this like sort of Bitcoin Bonnie and Clyde.
Yes.
And they were just like these cringy millennials who were trying to get famous on the internet, but also stealing a bunch of Bitcoin to make themselves very rich. It was just our friend Nick Bilton has a documentary coming out about this case on Netflix that I'm very excited to watch because I'm truly obsessed.
Shall we hear a little bit of Razzlekhan's work?
Let's do it.
Yeah, if we could hear a clip, please.
This song is for the entrepreneurs and hackers, all the misfits and smart slackers.
Razzlekhan, the Versace better win. Come real far, but don't know where I'm heading. Motherfucking crocodile of Wall Street. Silver on my fingers and boots on my feet. Always be a goat, not a goddamn sheep. Email me, fuck your message at the beep. Beep, 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 beep.
See, now, to me, this just goes to show how much, the culture has changed, because there was a time when people would have looked at what Razzlekhan did and simply said, she's being fergalicious. But in sort of the woke moment that we're in now, stealing 120,000 Bitcoin gets you a year and a half in jail.
Yeah.
Really sad.
Do you think that like her rap career will be an asset in jail?
Absolutely.
Like to her reputation?
I would not be surprised if Razzlekhan is the most popular person in the prison that she's in, and if it fuels the next phase of her journey. And in fact, she posted on X that she will, quote, soon be telling my story, sharing my thoughts, and telling you more about the creative and other endeavors I've been working on. So, I don't know what that means, but I will say I would love to see a Razzlekhan jukebox musical. Tell the story of Razzlekhan in her own words through her own music.
Yes. And I should say I look forward to Razzlekhan's appointment to head the Securities and Exchange Commission. All right. Next crime. What do we have?
Gary Wang, Kevin, was the last of the legal cases against FTX. You might remember some of FTX's more famous co-founders, such as Sam Bankman-Fried, who was sentenced to 25 years in prison for his role in FTX fraud, or Caroline Ellison, who was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Most recently, Ryan Salami was sentenced to...
Salem.
It's Salem?
It's Salem.
David
Yaffe Bellany literally has to put a pronunciation guide in his stories for this name because everyone calls him Ryan Salami, but it's Salem.
Do you know what they called the case against Ryan Salem, Kevin?
I think I know where you're going with
the
this.
Salem Witch Trials!
Yes. I knew that was going to happen. More like the Salem Rich Trials, am I right?
That's a better one. Honestly, if you just had
Wait, I got a snort out of you for that?
That was good. Okay. That was good. You know what? It's a free country, and I'm going to continue to call him Ryan Salami. I don't, you can't kid a kidder. Your name is Ryan Salami. So big Salami, as I call him, got 7.5 years in prison. So anyway, that leaves Gary Wang, the fourth member of the crew here. Actually, that's not even true. There's another guy, Nishad Singh, who was sentenced to time served. So Gary Wang was the last of these cases to be, resolved, and it was resolved this week, and he was given no prison time. And the reason is he snitched so hard on SBF that the government basically gave him a standing ovation. During the sentencing hearing, one prosecutor said that Wang was, quote, the easiest cooperator they've worked with and provided essential information to them. So he basically got the best snitch award, and it kept him out of jail.
Which is a good reminder that, that cooperating with the government in a fraud investigation can have benefits.
Now, Kevin, the FTX legal saga has really, taken place from the start of this podcast, and now it's sort of wrapping up. So do you have any sort of feelings of nostalgia or other reminiscences from 2 years of FTX?
I have been just very interested in this whole saga, not just because I think it was a big deal in the world of crypto, but because it has had all of these strange ripple effects, including... I was talking with someone this week about this, but the investment that SBF made in Anthropic, the AI company, has essentially paid back all of the investors who would have lost money on the FTX fraud because that stake has turned out to be worth a ton of money. And so even though Sam Bankman-Fried was a fraudster and is now serving time in prison, it turns out he was actually a pretty good tech investor.
If he gets out of prison and you just like run into him and he's like, you know where you should like put your money, like would you listen to him?
Yes, honestly, I would.
You know what? I might too. I believe in second chances for people.
And Sam, if you're listening, I would love your investment advice. I could really use some updates to my portfolio.
Sam, if you're listeing, you're not supposed to have a cell phone in there, so be careful.
You don't think you can get podcasts in prison?
That'd be the worst part about going to jail. Well, Kevin, we have one more case to look at. A phone network has employed an AI grandmother to waste scammers' time with meandering conversations.
Yes. As you know, there are now these scammers who will call people using an AI voice, pretending to be, you know, a long-lost cousin or their grandmother or something, and just try to, you know, steal money from them by impersonating someone. But this is a story that comes to us from the UK, where the largest mobile phone operator in the UK, O2, has created a new AI system called Daisy to trick scammers into thinking that they are talking to a real person who basically has been given the goal of just rambling and keeping them on the line for as long as possible. So wasting the scammer's time. I'm sure you've seen there are all these YouTube videos now of people whose whole shtick is that they take scam phone calls and then they try to scam the scammers.
Yes.
But that is labor intensive. And so now O2 has come along and said, we can actually build an AI that just wastes the scammer's time for you. And I think that's a great development.
I agree. I've read that they've sort of designed it to keep the scammers on the phone for as long as possible, but they're also trying to learn what tricks and techniques the scammers are using so that they can, you know, share that with, maybe their customers, maybe the police, and help, prevent people from falling for these things. O2 said that Daisy has managed to keep some people on the phone for up to 40 minutes.
I'll just say it. If an AI voice is keeping you on the phone for 40 minutes, you're a bad scammer.
Terrible scammer.
You're bad at your job.
Yeah.
Because you can tell instantly when it's an AI on the other end of the line. At least I think I can.
Well, there's usually like some sort of delay,
yes.
right? Like, and presumably that's going to disappear. But for now, I guess I feel somewhat confident. Now, I will say that consumers cannot use Daisy, but what O2 did was add it to the list of what they call easy target numbers used by scammers. So sort of sharing it around and saying, hey, you know, this Daisy is a really easy mark. So that's cool. But I will say it does make this feel a little bit more stunty to me. Although I guess as I think about it, I'm not exactly sure how consumers would be able to, I don't know, flip a button to get, you know, Daisy to answer their scam calls.
I think that's because you know how Apple or like other mobile devices can now sort of say scam likely when someone calls you from an unknown number. Yeah, you could just press a button and it would put Daisy on the line and it could just waste their time. I think we should deploy this.
Wait, that's actually genius. Like, that would be amazing. If it said spam risk and you just hit a button and you deployed an AI, like, scam resistor bot.
Yeah.
I want to do this.
Yes. Do you like these sort of vigilante schemes to take back the power?
You know, I mean, look, there is always pleasure in seeing a justice done,
yes.
right? And injustice being righted. You know, I have to say I have enjoyed YouTube videos of like porch pirates being apprehended.
The glitter bombs.
The glitter bombs. I find that very satisfying.
This is when like you disguise like a something as a package. Someone steals it, they open it up, and it sprays glitter everywhere, and you know sets off an alarm and sets off like horrible smelling stuff. And this is a very popular genre of YouTube video.
Yeah, most people do not have very often an experience of justice. You know, it's like you see injustice everywhere, but like the moment that you actually see like a wrong being righted, is like transcendent. I remember one time I was on the freeway and everyone was like trying to merge onto a different freeway. And so you're just sitting in bumper to bumper traffic and you're going forward at 1 inch an hour. And somebody gets impatient and they pull onto the shoulder so they can just get around everybody because I guess they had somewhere to be. And about 1 second after the person pulled onto the shoulder, I saw siren lights go up and a police officer just went and, pulled that person over and, got them in trouble. And that was like my greatest experience of justice.
Yeah.
And that happened 20 years ago and I think about it all the time. I'm so glad that happened.
Anyway, thanks, Daisy.
Thanks,
and
Daisy.
the sooner I can have you on my phone to deter the scammers, the happier I'll be.
And that's the Hardcore Crimes Division. Case closed.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, that's the end of this clip. If you liked what you saw, head on over to our page and subscribe, and you can get the full podcast. We do a show like this almost every week on tech and the future. Head on over there now and subscribe.